with an update on Mercedes Moné's future and more. This is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Recalling what took place the day prior to WrestleMania 14, pro wrestling referee Earl Hebner told Steve Fall, "Back in '98, I was in Boston, Massachusetts. I had a brain aneurysm during the day before WrestleMania, and that night I was drinking beer with The Undertaker and I had a big pain in my head. And I said something ain't right. It ended up that I was having a brain aneurysm and he took me to the New England Medical Center, and those people saved my life. So I owe Boston everything. I never made WrestleMania that year, but when we went back down the road, I went there and I must have taken 50 people in the ICU ward of the show. They helped me to stay with me and took good care of me so I could make it." Discussing her plans in the women's division, Becky Lynch said this to Strutting from Gorilla: "There are so many talented up-and-comers. One match that we haven't gotten yet, numero uno on the docket, is I've got to shut up Nia Jax first. We haven't had that match, which is unbelievable to think that Nia Jax and I haven't gone one-on-one in a WWE ring, but it's true. Then there is the next stop, which is taking the title off Rhea Ripley. That title, when I hold that title is the main event of every show. Her title has been seen in many main events, but not because she's been defending it, no, just because she's been the accompaniment to the main event. I can't have that. I'm sick of that. And I'm going to take that title back off her, preferably at WrestleMania." In that same interview, Becky Lynch said this regarding a return to NXT down the line, and then there's other people that have had my eye on. I think Thea Hale is somebody that I look forward to seeing how she progresses. She's somebody that's different. She's got this particular charisma about her that I really like and that I really enjoy, so I'm looking forward to one day stepping in the ring with her too. Admitting that he's shocked to have not been reached out to by WWE for a return to the company, Matt Cardona said this on Insight with Chris Van Vliet. "I mean, I'll be honest, when all those people get rehired, I was thinking, not me, the guy who has been doing everything. What was the prerequisite to getting re-signed? Not doing anything? Besides like Chelsea and like the Good Brothers and a handful of others, most people didn't do anything. But that's fine. Everyone has a different path, a different story. Do I have a chip on my shoulder about that? I wouldn't say a chip, like a little crumb. But listen, this isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving myself right, my fans right. If I can't convert some doubters and get some new fans along the way, so be it. But I can't have this goal of being the absolute best with like negativity driving it, if that makes sense." Going over what led to him growing out his mullet, Dominik Mysterio told the West Sport, "I don't know. I guess the idea kind of came about from watching, of course, the late, great Eddie Guerrero. I approached my deadbeat dad about it a couple years back, and I told him, hey, what would you think if I started growing out a mullet? He's like, I think it'd be pretty cool if you can pull it off. I looked at him and I said, I could pull this off better than any other. But yeah, I mean, it was the awkward stages, like the middle stages where it was kind of like, once it gets flowy, I mean, yeah, I'm very proud of this mullet. Actually, Undertaker complimented my mullet, so that's how I know it's a good mullet." Teasing something coming in the future, Lacey Evans took to X to post a picture writing exciting news coming and included a link to her adult content page. It looks as though many former WWE stars will become free agents very soon. As Ringside News wrote, in September, WWE made the decision to release a number of talents, but they were not allowed to compete elsewhere. WWE's non-compete clause kept them from getting right out there to compete. WWE main roster talent must wait 90 days after they are released as part of their non-compete clause. NXT talent only have a 30-day non-compete clause attached to their deals, so some of those last releases are already competing. now the main roster talent will join them. As of December 21st, the following performers will officially become free agents, offering them the opportunity to explore potential opportunities with any wrestling promotion. The list includes Mustafa Ali, Aaliyah, Shelton Benjamin, Rick Boogs, Dana Brooke, Dabba-Kato, Elias, Quincy Elliott, Ulissa Leon, Mace, Mansoor, Riddick Moss, Matt Riddle, Shanky, Top Dollar, and Dolph Ziggler. Mentioning how long he will be able to continue on his journey as a pro wrestler, Samoa Joe told Adrian Hernandez, "Oh no, I'll probably stop wrestling way before then. His body tells him to stop. I've been really fortunate. When I came off the concussion, I took 2 years off to really get everything back in order, and in that time too, just in the recovery process, really changed a lot of my training and changed a lot of things around that have benefited me to a great amount health-wise, and I feel good right now. As far as where the train will end, I'll let it play out a little bit more, but I will say this, I definitely have more than a handful of good years left in me, and beyond that, I'm excited too. If we are going to go out, we're going to go out with a bang, so it'll be interesting to see how these next few years play out." Revealing details from his conversation with John Cena at the Iron Claw premiere, AEW World Champion MJF told the SI Media podcast, "We're two guys that are both massive fans of each other's work. He loves what I'm doing in AEW. I absolutely love everything that he's done in professional wrestling as a whole. He's easily a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I believe that. Literally, I am a Hall of Famer, but I believe that I am also soon to be a first ballot professional wrestling Hall of Famer as well." And we exchanged pleasantries, and we talked and discussed about, how we're fans of each other's work, and I told him straight up, I find him to be an absolute inspiration. What he's been able to do with Make-A-Wish with all these kids, and also what he's been able to do completely transcend outside the professional wrestling sport and landscape is something that I've begun to do as well, and I'm really proud of that, and I don't think I'd be able to do that without following the footsteps of these major giants in professional wrestling history, like him, like Batista, like The Rock. If it's not for these guys, they wouldn't take me seriously as an actor. On that same podcast, MJF would be asked about the return to WWE for CM Punk, where he said, "One of the greatest feuds, I'll just say this, the greatest feud of the modern era was me versus CM Punk, I think, and that happened on AEW television." No, I was happy for him. Listen, if he's happy, I'm happy. I think he's a hell of a talent, and at the end of the day, it's a business. For some reason with wrestling, it's looked at differently than any other sport. I see guys get traded to different teams all the time. That's just life. So he did what he felt was best for him, and the company did what they felt was best for the company. So I just hope he's happy. I wish him the best of luck. As Booker T and Ahmed Johnson have a contentious relationship to say the least, Ahmed challenged Booker to a fight, saying on the Cheap Heat podcast, "Brother, I got a dojo for us. If you want to get to the streets with this, let's do this," because I didn't appreciate what he said. And before you call somebody a scum, look at your past and then really know who the scum is. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker responded, "I actually heard the interview. He said what a low life I was, going to prison for robbing people, and I must say, I did go to prison for robbing people. I was a kid, and I think I've atoned for every piece of dirt I put down back in the day. I was a kid that made a mistake." He talks about being in a gang as a youth himself. What do gangs do? What do they normally do? They're normally not the pillars of society. I'm just saying. I hope he tells that story. I really do. He'll see a different side of me if he does tell a false story that's totally not true, because I've got facts. I've got receipts as far as everything I'm saying. If he tells a lie about me, he's probably going to end up in court, and he's probably going to end up getting sued for defaming me. For an update on the legal situation with former WWE star Sunny, Ringside News wrote, PW Insider reports that WWE Hall of Famer Tammy Sunny Sitch has been moved from Volusia County Corrections to a prison facility in Ocala, Florida on December 20th, 2023. This is the final chapter of a long story, one that was hard to watch unfold for many reasons. On November 28th, Tammy Lynn Sitch was sentenced to 17 years and an additional 8 years of probation. During the sentencing, her attorneys mentioned the intent to file an appeal for a reduced sentence, but as of today, no court records show that an appeal has been filed. In the civil lawsuit realm, Tammy Lynn Sitch continues to face a lawsuit from the estate of Julian Lasseter, who died in the traffic incident leading to Sitch's arrest in March 2022. The charges include 1 count of DUI causing death, DUI manslaughter, 1 count of causing death while operating a vehicle with a suspended or revoked driver's license, 4 counts of DUI causing injury to a person, and 3 counts of DUI causing damage to property. In August, Sitch entered a plea of nolo contendere in Florida regarding the charges, initially pleading not guilty. She changed her plea to nolo contendere, accepting conviction without admitting fault or guilt. As part of this plea, her time behind bars was considered as the sentence for the remaining charges, misdemeanors, listed as served concurrently with the top charges against her. Welcoming the 3rd child he has had with his wife, Devon Dudley posted this to his Facebook. Just want to let everyone know that DJ was born Tuesday, December 19th, 2023, 12:54 p.m., 6 pounds, 11 ounces, 20 inches. Mom and baby are doing great. Thank you. As Charlotte Flair is set to be out of action for most of next year with a knee injury, Bianca Belair said this about it on Roar Around the Ring. It is a huge blow. Charlotte Flair has been such a vital part of our women's roster. She's created so much history. She's a legend. I'm not even going to say a legend in the making. With the accolades that she has, she's a legend. It's really hard knowing that we've lost someone like Charlotte Flair right now for 9 months. Me, selfishly, we all know I've always looked up to Charlotte Flair. I've always wanted to have a dream match against her, with her. It doesn't matter as long as I can be in the ring with her. But it does open up an opportunity for someone else, and that's just the way this business is. I always say you gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. You never know when your opportunity is gonna come, whether it's your time, whether it's another spot that opens up. So I have to see who steps up. At the end of the day, we're all fighting for a spot at WrestleMania. So I'm even looking for my path to WrestleMania. Am I gonna be on WrestleMania this year? So it's very unfortunate, but it's a spot that's opened up for someone to shine. After QT Marshall's departure from AEW, this was said regarding his future in pro wrestling. There's already outside interest with Marshall, who we're told at least has some plans that include the Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling trademark. Marshall was adamant that he wanted to perform in-ring while he was in his prime. Mentioning a potential matchup against Randy Orton, who he faced back at SummerSlam in 2006, Hulk Hogan told Sports Illustrated, "If I wasn't all beat to hell, I'd love to get in the ring with Randy. We could still tear it down in the main event. Randy could call it in the ring, and he could just adjust to my style to make sure it worked perfectly. He's just so good. He can work with veterans and the newer guys too. He knows how to pivot both ways in the ring." Previously, it was reported that Rey and Dominik Mysterio re-signed with WWE, as Dom is believed to have inked a new 5-year deal. This was said by Ringside News regarding Rey's contract. Earlier this week, reports surfaced regarding the re-signing of Lucha Libre legend Rey Mysterio with WWE, finalizing a deal approximately a month ago. Although the details of the contract's length were initially undisclosed, subsequent reports have shed light on the duration of Mysterio's commitment to the WWE universe. According to House of Wrestling, the former Grand Slam champion's new contract spans a period of 3 years. Currently sidelined due to a knee injury that necessitated minor surgery, Rey Mysterio is on the road to recovery. It appears that he is getting closer to that date. With him set to become a free agent tomorrow following his release from WWE, Matt Riddle was seen at the World MMA Awards, where he would be asked by MMA Junkie about returning to pro wrestling as well as fighting.
Fighters Only, World MMA Awards. What brings you out? Is this your first time here?
This isn't my first time. You know, I used to fight in the UFC, and I mean, it's been a while. And the last time I was here about 10 years ago when I was still employed with the UFC. But this year I'm here as a presenter, you know, and we'll see how that goes.
Despite your very successful pro wrestling career, how often are you asked about your UFC tenure?
I get asked about the UFC quite a bit, just because it was such a, the beginning, the start of like kind of my TV stardom with the Ultimate Fighter, then the career in the UFC, and then, getting fired for, X, Y, and Z and what have you, so yeah, it's just a full circle kind of thing, and I always get asked about it though.
And I know like a lot of people look at that tenure you had with the UFC, the way that it ended and how you were able to kind of take a left turn and go in a arguably even more successful direction. So when you view that yourself and reflect on that and all the things Dana White's said about you when you parted ways, I mean, how good does that make you feel about your decision-making abilities?
It feels really good. But on top of it, I kind of got to thank Dana for that, because if he would have just fired me and not said anything, nobody would have probably knew about me. But putting me on blast and doing that, I think a lot of people could relate with me. They probably had their parents or their boss talk to them like that. And I think that's kind of where, that bro character kind of started, and then making my way through pro wrestling wasn't easy too, especially with the, stigma of being that guy that got fired, but I think, every good journey needs a good story, and you need ups and downs, just like a good pro wrestling match.
And we see, despite them being so different, MMA and pro wrestling still have some crossovers. We see some people jump. Has there ever been any thoughts in your mind, any opportunities like maybe I'd be able to do one of these again?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll say this. There's been a lot of talk. I've been talking to a couple of promotions. I don't want to get into it until it's official. But I think 2024 is a very big possibility that I get back in the ring or cage and fight again pretty soon. So.
I guess kind of what's the motivation there? Is it just, good business opportunities? Do you feel like there's still a story in Matt Riddle and MMA that hasn't had its final chapter written?
Yeah, I feel like, and maybe this is a bad theory or a bad idea, I feel like you got to get beat up to leave, and I feel like I left the UFC on a 4-fight win streak, then won another fight in Titan FC, and kind of just left and went to pro wrestling, did good, still doing it. Pro wrestling's awesome, but still want to get beat up, I want to have my exit, but we'll see, maybe somebody beats me up, maybe I keep winning, who knows,
And how much, obviously what you do is you got to be tremendously athletic, and I'm sure you're training every day, but how much MMA training have you done since you left, if any?
I train probably a couple times a week. Not so much. I'm not getting into those firefights, hard sparring, like going for knockouts or anything. But at the same time, I do a lot of mitt work. I do jiu-jitsu at least a couple times a week. Just got my black belt this year. I mean, probably should have got it a while ago, but pro wrestling, it's hard to put that time into the jiu-jitsu gym. But I'm focusing a lot on that. So, because I've had that itch. So we'll see.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you something. People thought that they would never see the day that CM Punk would be back in WWE. Is there a time we could see you back with the UFC?
I mean, I say never. If the opportunity's right. I don't really hold a grudge, and I talk a lot of shit. Sorry, but talk a lot of trash, but that's about it, So if there's business to be had, I'll get business done.
What is it about the fences being able to be mended in these businesses?
Well, for me, I mean, there's no fence that really needs mending. He had his decision, I had mine. He went his way, I went my way, and I had great success, and so is he. So for me, there's no problem. It's just a matter of you'd want me to work for him if you want to pay me again. And he doesn't have to,
And if I could just ask you, how shocked were you that CM Punk mended fences with WWE in his back?
I'm not surprised, because WWE, the one thing they like money, and CM Punk is money, just like he was money in mixed martial arts. So you can't argue a man that's money. But yeah, then that's just like the UFC. I know if I fight, I'll sell tickets. So just if they want it.
And you did say 2024 could be the year where we see you in the ring or the cage. If you had to say which one was more likely to happen first or happen?
More likely, probably a ring. I would like to get back in the cage, though, but we'll see what happens.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you, man.
And I'll be at that Jake Paul fight tonight, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Interesting. We may see you pop up in some way.
Some way, somehow. You'll see me.
Maybe that's the ring you're talking about.
Possibly, Maybe it's the brass ring and we're reaching for it. I don't know.
All right.
as he reportedly suffered a torn labrum. AEW champ MJF said this about coming out of the upcoming World's End event with the title despite his injury, telling Solo Monster, "I got PRP done and something called EPAT, where what they do essentially is it's almost like shock therapy straight onto the muscle. I'm not going to lie to you, I cannot lift my arm all the way up north, south, point blank. Probably not something I should be discussing publicly. I'm kind of being known for being honest to a fault. I can't lose this belt. This world title reign, it means too much to too many people. Most specifically, it means too much to me. I'm going to go in there guns blazing. I'm going to give it 110%. I've wrestled Samoa Joe before. Hardest match of my reign. I believe I've had 11 title defenses. I also hold the record of most title defenses of any world champion in the history of the company. Of every single match I've had, the one where I was in the most physical danger was Joe at Grand Slam. I know what I'm heading into, but I'm going to win because I have to win." While it is unknown what is next for former WWE star Mercedes Mone, who was last seen working for New Japan before suffering an injury in the ring back in May, this was said regarding her asking price for a new contract. As Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful noted, we revealed on today's episode of The Hump that word within the industry was that Mercedes Moné's asking price was above what we heard Charlotte Flair got on her new WWE deal. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.